The following story is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. My family and I just moved into a new house. It was me, my dad, my mom, and my sister. My sister and I really didn't want to move. We didn't want to leave all of our friends behind. Our parents gave us no choice. As we were moving in, we had a very strange feeling come across us. It was almost threatening. As my dad was unloading boxes from the moving van, I looked across the street and I noticed one of the neighbors staring at us. It was a very strange and off-putting stare. I'll never forget what that man's face looked like. I tried to ignore it and try to make the best of the situation. So I continued helping my dad unload the boxes and I went inside the house. A few days after move-in day, I walk out to the end of the driveway to check the mailbox. I had this strange sixth sense feeling that somebody was looking at me. So I looked down the street and, to my surprise, 3 houses down, I saw someone staring at me as well. At this point, I got a little alarmed. I went in the house, and I thought, there's no way this is happening. So I walk up to my sister's room, and I sit down on her bed and ask, have you been getting a weird feeling since we moved in? And she quickly said no. So I shared my experiences with her, just telling her that a lot of the neighbors have been staring at us and I felt like everyone was watching us. A few days later, things began to take a turn for the worse. We noticed trash pile up in our yard and someone was leaving notes on our front door. This made my family and I feel very concerned, but also kind of curious. The notes read, "Welcome to the neighborhood." But no one signed at the bottom. There wasn't anything on the note indicating that it was from anybody. Just a simple note. This made me concerned because I just watched that new show, The Watcher, on Netflix. And it reminded me just of that. I thought to myself, this must just be a prank. Until later that night, my sister and I were in her room, and we heard a noise at the window. And it's a 2-story window, so someone must have thrown something at the window. But it caught our attention, and we slowly creeped towards the window and peeked. I had this feeling at my stomach as it dropped towards the floor. That same man from across the street was standing right outside, looking up at the window. I closed the blinds, and I just looked down. I didn't know what to think. That same man who was across the street staring at me feels comfortable enough to come into our yard and throw things at the window. My sister looked, and she screamed. We ran down the stairs as quickly as possible, and we told our parents. Our parents ran over to our room and looked out the window, and just like in the horror movies, he was gone. My dad called the police, and he told us to stay in the room and don't go outside. My dad rushed to his room and grabbed his baseball bat and went outside. He couldn't find that man, but about 10 minutes later the police show up and takes our statement. Nothing creepy has happened since then, but that was only a couple weeks ago. At this point, my sister and I are extremely uncomfortable there. Knowing the police won't do anything until something actually happens frightens me. But, to this day, nothing more has happened, and every time I go outside to check the mailbox, I look at that house, and I just wonder, was he going to do something bad that night if I didn't see him?